And we will be right back, so stay tuned.
Does
Hi,
it?
good morning, everyone. So we have Ohkanda Riki today, Paprika Girl. Thank you so much for joining us again.
Oh, hi. Good
and
morning. No, my
and
cat.
and your little kitty on your shoulder is joining us for a
Mhm.
little bit.
And Ego is he will climb if as soon as I start talking on here in front of the camera, then he will start climbing and then he'll come back. So I apologize for cat butt.
No, that's okay. We don't mind kitties. Nice and quiet one.
Yeah.
So this is our third time in Seeking Sustainability Live, and this is number 105 in the series.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, it's exciting. Almost every season. So hopefully we'll get you back again in winter. This time we're kind of focusing on autumn things. You always, not only about kimono, but you always introduce so many wonderful things about Japanese culture for each season. So it's so wonderful to have you on. Thank you so much.
Oh, good. So thank you.
Um, so one of the things that I saw on your Facebook is you did sokon
Oh,
for each season. Can you explain sokon?
sokon. Well, sokon is a tea phrase, which is a reminder to live in the moment. So it's very common. You'll see it on the kakejiku, kind of the hanging scrolls in the tea rooms. But it's a reminder that each and every time you have a tea ceremony, that's just one sliver of your life. You're only going to meet these people in this same circumstance on this date, on this season, or with these sweets and these bowls only once in your life, and it's never going to happen again. Even now, we have Kitty climbing all over my back, and I'm talking to you online, and it's nice weather, and I'm wearing this kimono, and downstairs there's tea ceremonies going on, and that's just going to happen one time in my life. And so I have to appreciate the fact that I'm here right now enjoying that. So it's just a reminder for everyone to enjoy whatever it is that they're doing right now, for better or worse.
That's really wonderful. In terms of sustainability and seeking sustainability season as well as life, to be in the moment, to be living in the moment is so hard to do and so important.
Yeah,
Definitely.
people they dwell on the past a lot, or they'll think about what they want to do in the future, hopes like that. And either one of them could be good or bad depending on the situation, but then we forget that we're actually living right now, and all of a sudden that's gone, and then we're never going to get that moment back again. So it's good to keep in mind constantly on a daily basis.
Definitely. Do you ever like travel somewhere by train or by car and you arrive at your destination and you're like, how did I get here? I don't even remember, right? And that kind of your mind is so distracted and I think that's a real worry, especially during coronavirus. We have so much going on mentally. So just
Mhm.
taking note of where you are, what you're wearing, what you're eating, what you're doing, right?
People say that as the time goes on and you get older, that days get shorter. But I think that the reason for this is because we're not living in the moment. We're thinking of something else because we've been on this train every single day at the same time. So we don't need to see the guy in front of us holding the strap, or we don't need to see a little girl in their costume or whatever it may be that's in front of us because we've seen it so many times. So we tend to shove all that into like we don't need this information kind of a filing system in our head. And as a result, we're losing a lot of the day, which otherwise could be appreciated.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's start. Wait, could you explain the kimono that you're wearing? It's beautiful.
Thank you. This is actually, I posted this material about maybe 3 months ago during the summer. This was given to me. It's a wool fabric. And so wool fabric is usually used for hitoe, which means single layer kimono. And right now is the season for that. So I had this made over the last couple months, just so that I could use it just this month. So this is a bingata, which means it's a Okinawan pattern. So this kind of a color where you have the colors fade and multiple rainbow kind of color going on, that's a very Okinawan pattern. Um, it's very tough. So even if Kitty is on here scratching and purring and trying to figure out a way, to involve themselves in this conversation, it's not going to ruin the kimono in any way. And you use it for cleaning a house, and you can use it for going out for groceries and things like that. So very convenient, right,
Nice.
Kitty? Sorry.
That's okay. And congratulations on your novella. Can you introduce your novella that's now published on Amazon?
Oh, thank you. Yes. Oh, well, I'm supposed to be writing a script right now. I'm supposed to have it done by the end of this week, and I had 3 weeks. And I didn't want to do it, so I procrastinated, and I had to think of something to do to procrastinate, right? So during this summer, I was able to visit Tsunan in Niigata. And in Tsunan, my husband's doing various volunteer work over there to promote the city, the whole entire area of Tsunan. So he took me on this tour of the area, and so we're visiting all these different locations. So I visited the maker of the Naiba-san drink, and I visited the hills where they have to how do I say this? They have to reap the the rice by hand because they can't bring large kikai, a large machinery up to that area. And I was riding in one of these K trucks, and all the things that this girl goes through and sees is something that I saw while I was there. And the most interesting part of it was the Ryugakubo, which is considered, it was in the, they have, Japan loves to make lists of things, like top 3 things and top 100 things. They just love this. They used to do that since the Edo period, so it's an old tradition. But one of the top 100 of the Japanese ponds in the country was the Ryugakubo. And it's known for very, very clear, very green water. So you can see everything way down to the bottom of this swirling green algae that they have in there. It's absolutely beautiful. And I asked the locals about it, and everyone I asked gave us a different story. So I was like, oh, there's a story about a dragon, or oh, there's a story about 2 lovers, or it's a story about the trunk, the tree trunk, or there's all these little different stories and tales that come about it, but none of them are the same thing. And so it was on my way back from there that I was thinking about, well, I very much enjoyed Sunan, and it's not like one of those crazy, insane, fun places like a city. It's something that's very relaxed and beautiful just to look at and be there. So I wanted to, I was thinking about making a movie which would show the beauty of Sunan. But of course, that takes time and money and all these other crazy things. So I just had the concept in the back of my mind. So when I had to start on this other script, which I'm supposed to be done by the end of the week, and it's not, then I was like, oh, so I think I should write down that story. And then I started to write it. And the first day I sat down and I wrote half the book. So it's like it came from somewhere. I didn't know what I was going to write when I sat down, but it just kind of arrived. And so then a couple weeks later, here I am, I finished this book. And what's interesting about e-publishing is that anyone can do it. So you don't have to wait for hours, or I'm sorry, ages and ages for publishers to read your book and then tell you no and all these other things. E-publishing is very accessible as long as you have a computer. So what you do with an e-publishing book is, I used Amazon because it's the easiest. If you're publishing from Amazon Japan, you don't need an ISBN number. So an ISBN number, you'd have to register for one of those in the United States, but not if you're selling through Japan. And the positive thing about that is that if you have a couple $100 lying around to buy an ISBN number, great. If you don't, you're stuck. So going through Japan will help alleviate that cost because it's free to publish the book otherwise, right? So all you have to do is you have to download the app from Amazon. So there's this app for your computer which helps you to organize the book into chapters and spaces and stuff, which will definitely fit on a Kindle machine. And then you just upload, and then once you kind of got it to the positioning that you want, there's not a lot of variation, so you just kind of have to let go with it. But once you have it kind of done, then you just upload it to the Kindle publishing website, Kindle, the direct publishing. And goodness, it says that it's supposed to take 72 hours to review the book, but for my case, it only took like 24 hours. So I just put it up, and all of a sudden, oh, it's there. Okay. They do have there's the cost setting. You have the minimum cost, so you have to have it minimum 250 yen. But other than that, there's no top on it. So if you think your book is worth 5,000 yen, then so it is. You can kind of choose it for yourself. And then after that, of course, you have to do self-publishing and self-promotion. And as long as people are reading, I'm happy. So
That's wonderful. And I posted that I was interviewing you, and someone on Twitter immediately said they just read your novella and they really loved it. So I haven't had a chance to read it yet. I just discovered that you did it this morning. So it's great that you could introduce it. Yeah. Fantastic. Mary has said it's so beautiful, your kimono. And have you interviewed Paprika Girl before? Yes. This is the third time interviewing Paprika Girl. She has a deep knowledge of Japanese culture, tea ceremony, and kimono, and it changes each season. So my goal is to have Paprika Girl on each season. Thank you so much. And thank you, Richard, for saying yes twice before. That's right. So please find the previous episodes in the series with Paprika Girl, and I'll put the links below later. Thank you so much for your interest.
This is our tea master. She's doing tea things downstairs, and apparently she has to wash something. So
okay, I like her kimono too. The black and white blocks is beautiful.
This is also a Hitoe kimono. Sensei, I'm out today. I'm sorry.
Okay.
But she's also wearing a Hitoe. The black and white block is very Edo pattern. So Edo loves those kind of striking patterns of black and white and checker and things like so we understand to be checkers. So even the Olympic logo, which is this white and blue and white kind of a checker thing, that's actually a very traditional pattern called the Ichimatsu Moyo. So she's wearing an Ichimatsu Moyo today.
Wonderful. I think I have one of you in a similar one. We'll talk more about, we'll show loads of kimono photos, all your beautiful kimono photos a bit later. Can you introduce a bit more about autumn culture before we go into that? So before we start, thank you so much for introducing the masklet.
Oh, I'm glad you like it. It's absolutely adorable. So last time we were here, I was watching your video of all places. It'd be great if you could link that because she was such an adorable lady, Lady Clementine. She creates all these different things using Japanese material. And one of the things that she was offering on her, I think it was Etsy, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
On her Etsy, this adorable masklet. And what's cute about it, even just in the picture, is that it folds really nicely into a wristband. So, oh yeah, I have this, it's on here right now. But the wristband over here, wait, that's this one. The wristband, it fits really nicely, and she makes it based on the person who orders it. So if I just measured my wrist and sent the measurement to her, and then a week later she sent this adorable little masklet, and the material is really nice.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very soft and light, and you have to put your own filter on the inside. But at this point, filters are available everywhere. So I really enjoy washable masks because you can continue to use them, and you don't have to throw things away and see masks discarded all over the place on the city. So I'm not really fond of that. So I was really lucky to have that. So it's really beautiful.
It's beautiful. So it's upcycled kimono material that she makes for her bags and other products. And this is actually, it was originally my idea. So to have a wrist bracelet masklet combo. So it's a collaborative project. So I'm so glad you like it. Yeah. My first ever. Oh, she's behind you now. Can we have a look at her kimono?
Good morning.
Good morning. What a beautiful kimono you have.
Thank you.
朝からレイキさんにこき使われています。
So sorry, she's been running around all day because
and even though she's running around, she still looks gorgeous and perfect.
そしての実もすごく綺麗に見えますよ。
And she helped with the interview with the tatami artist, right?
Oh, that's right. One
Yeah.
of these days, definitely like to introduce you to her directly because her knowledge of tatami is so deep. I mean, she worked at the number one tatami maker in Kyoto for like I think it was 5 years or something like that. So she knows the history, she knows the method, how to make it, how to fix it. I mean, I've like one thing that used to irk me was that if you put um, these like furniture on top of the tatami, it'll make an impression, and that always bothered me because I thought I destroyed the kimono, or I'm sorry, destroyed the tatami. But then she said, "Oh no, you just put it with a spray bottle, like this, and leave it there for an hour. It's gone." And it really is. And all these other things that she would teach me, well, was in the tea room. So I'm quite thankful to her and her knowledge.
Yeah, I would love to have a chat with you and her all about her insights for tatami. That'd be wonderful. You're always introducing such interesting things about Japanese culture each season. And this Danshari concept is of course closely connected to sustainability and
Yeah.
Japanese culture. Could you explain it a little bit?
Oh well, Danshari is something that was based in yogi culture originally. In the 1970s, when yoga culture first came to Japan, it was closely, of course, Japanese like they like the do part of it. So if you write michi, write road, whatever has a do on it, it's a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle and a way of thought, not just a hobby. And so people who are looking more into the depth behind the yoga kind of concept, it also involved something similar to Danshari, and that was ridding yourself of material items, and your connection to the material items. So Danshari is especially done for people who they're supposed to be done for people who have lots and lots of stuff. We're a little bit of a pack rat, and yet they know that they're a pack rat, and they're like, you know what, I have to get rid of this stuff. And it technically means to get rid of things. The down part of it has to do with not bringing in things that you're not going to need in the future, and the sha is I forgot, but the sha part anyway, the entire thing is don't bring in things that you're not going to use. Get rid of the things that you don't use, and the other one is don't want things that you're not going to actually be using in the future. So if you have all this stuff, you go through all these papers, and anything you haven't used within a year or 2 years, it means you're not really connected to it anyway. So let's get rid of it. So get rid of all these things. Get rid of all these plastic bowls and all these cups and those things that you're going to use one day, but you never do, and that pair of pants which you're never going to fit into again, and all these things that you're just keeping for no reason other than this assumption of you being able to use it one day. And the reason that we're talking about Danshari now is that this lovely tea teacher, she's going through her stuff, and she started to throw away like these huge bags of everything. I'm like, what are you doing? You had all this junk. She's like, I had all this junk. And she's like, one day, and this is going to sound a little morbid, but because she's still young, but one day we're going to pass away. I'm going into the next world. And when you pass away, what do you have left but a big house full of stuff that grandma left behind? You don't need any of it. The kids don't need any of it. There might be a tea bowl in there or something, might be kind of sentimental perhaps. But all of these photographs of like baby in a diaper and all these books which, are collecting dust and mold and stuff, no one's ever going to look at them again. And there's no value to them whatsoever. So let's get rid of that stuff now so that we don't have to concern ourselves with it for the rest of our lives. And so the Danshari kind of a concept is just simply to live as minimalistically as possible. Don't consume, don't stock up, and don't hoard. It's a great concept and very, very applicable. Yeah. Me too. Oh, goodness. Oh, oh yes. This is let's see. Well, tea bowls, you use them based on this. You can use them based on the season, a lot of them. And so this is over here, karatsu. But the karatsu yaki, they use a lot of course, brown in the color, but it's also kind of rough. And if you can feel something which is nice and rough, that's fun to hold in your arms, hold in your hands. And it also keeps the heat of the tea inside of the bowl. So it keeps the stuff warm. So to use a kind of a textured material bowl is good for it's good for the autumn and of course the winter. In the winter they get even nice and thick, so it's like using like a sweater to drink. It's so beautiful. And the ohagi, ohagi is very popular this month. Ohagi, it's a red bean paste, which is covering mochi on the inside, and it's used during the autumn equinox. And as far as I understand the reason for it, which I heard before, which may or may not be true because for reasons, but that particular one, this month, at the very end of the month, I think it's actually on October 1st this year, but we have the tsukimi. And tsukimi is the watching of the moon. And so during the watching of the moon, you get a lot of things that are kind of moon inspired. And so if you cut an ohaki in half, you have the white moon inside of the black, or it's the brown, but the brown sky. So that was where ohagi comes from originally, is what I've heard. But yeah, it's very good and it's not too sweet. So if people don't really like the sweetness of certain things, I definitely recommend trying it at least once. So yes, it is. Soybean. Yep. Hmm. Yeah. So if you have all you need for this is you need a whisk, you need your green tea, and you need a bowl, and that's it. And just you put some green tea into the bowl, add some water, and just whisk it until you get bubbles. The more bubbles you get, the better. At least in there's many different schools of thought in this, but the more bubbles you get, the more frothier it is, and it's a little bit more enjoyable. But there's no sugar involved in this, and it has a good amount of caffeine without making you jittery.
Mm-hmm.
So I do recommend it. It's very good
Yeah,
in many ways.
wonderful. And because we're talking about the green tea that you need to whisk in tea ceremony, you also introduced a beautiful whisk making shop when you visited in Nara. Is that right? Could you
Yeah,
introduce them? Nara Tanimura Tango, is it?
yeah. Tanimura Tango is a whisk maker, and he's the 20th generation whisk maker. So I don't know how to describe it. It's a shokunin, so it's not an artist, but this is someone who's just really, 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 really good at making whisks, and their family's been doing this for generations upon generations. So um, Tanimura Tango is he's the official whisk maker for the Urasenke, the head of Urasenke, which is the head of this certain tea school, which I'm a part of. And I've heard his name before, but it was actually Camellia Kyoto, which posts a lot of tea information online, which inspired me to go visit him because I wanted a tea whisk which has a Hungarian colors on it because I have a Hungarian background. So I wanted to go and ask him for this. And so I sent him a message through the internet. It's like, hello, could you make a Hungarian whisk? And he's like, and then, well, seriously, a few hours later, he posts this picture like this, and it's done, and it's there, and it's waiting. He's like, come and get it. So I went over to Nara because I had to go to Kyoto for some tea ceremonies, but I went over to Nara and I visited him, and he was so kind, and he made a tea whisk out of for scratch. So right in front of me, took this piece of bamboo and he's like, pop, 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 and he was making it and explaining it and the history and the tools that he uses and all these things. So you posted one picture of this wall of so many tea scoops, right? Or the tea chesen, a tea whisk. Well, that wall has this, how many hundreds of years? That's 400, 500 years worth of history there. So a lot of those whisks were made by his great, 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 great grandfather. And they're right there in front of you. And he's trying to show, of course, that the tea whisk hasn't changed over the hundreds of years. It's the same thing. The technique is also the same, and it's made the same way for all these generations. But absolutely wonderful person who was very, very inviting and very, very kind. So I bought a whole bunch of tea whisks because I needed them. Because these are things that don't last forever, of course. They're like, you have to use them. And I guess if you're kind to them, you tend to replace them once a year. But if you're not kind to them, you have to buy a couple in a year. So be nice to your tea whisks.
It's absolutely incredible. Once you introduced this, I followed to their website. They have an excellent website and show in videos on YouTube, which you can link from the website, how to make them. And it's all made by hand with very sharp blades, and it's all comes from bamboo. But it's really incredible. I was very interested, and I had never really thought about it before. So I love this about your social media, how you introduce like deep Japanese culture that you don't normally think about, in such detail. And I think we take it for granted that most of these things are still made in Japan. But of course, that's very unusual. When you're in America, you have, such beautiful artisan stuff. It's not necessarily made in America, but this is such deep culture for Japan. It takes with such pride, right?
Well, it's has a lot to do with um, with awareness. The thing is that Kanimura also explained while he was there that during the 1970s, especially, they started to release videos of the tea whisks, and until that time, they were all made in Japan. But as a result of releasing the videos, certain countries nearby picked up on how to make them, and they started to sell them, make them and sell them too. But the problem is that the normal tea whisk, it's not expensive. It's only what considered like 3,000 yen for a tea whisk, which is made in Japan. But the ones which come from a certain country, which shall not be named, are 700 yen. And they break right away. They're not made with the same techniques. They have to go for it really quickly. So 700 yen, it lasts you a month, but it's still 700 yen as opposed to 3,000 yen, right? So if you're not looking to check where these things are made, you're not only getting something which is not going to be beneficial for you economically in the long run, but it's also going to like destroy the industry. And as a result of it being taken away and turned into an item made so cheaply, we have lost a lot of tea whisk makers. And this doesn't just apply to tea whisk makers. This applies to kimono makers, or it applies to people who dye fabric, or any sort of artisan. This is something that can be turned into some commercial commodity kind of thing, and then it will be taken away easily and quickly, and it becomes cheap after that. So you have to be aware of where it is that you're buying the item from in order to sustain the market in the country that you love, especially Japan.
Definitely. And that is true, as we've learned in the series. That is also true for Japanese farmers, that there is fewer and fewer small farmers around Japan. And this is really important to consider when you buy your vegetables even. Try to support the local farmers. Try to support local artisans when you're buying specialty Japanese items in particular. So it's wonderful you could introduce us. What an interesting part of Japanese culture I never thought about before. So thank you. Let's talk about autumn stationery. You love stationery in autumn, right?
I happen to be in the office, so what do you have in the office but stationery? I love the stationery. Here we go. Yay.
Nice.
But I just every single month, it's not just a tea thing, this is all over Japan, but every single month themes will change. So last month we would have, since it was August, it would usually be a matsuri, so festivals and fireworks, and you'll have a lot of morning glories and flowers like that will be on the stationery. But the next month comes, and now it's in autumn. So Japan has a habit of doing everything 1 month early. So to create a sense of anticipation, there are no red leaves right now yet because it's still early September. However, the stationery and the tea items and the sweets and people's clothing will suddenly start to involve having lots of red leaves and red foliage. So fall leaves and things like that are going to start next month, but they start selling these things right now and using them now. And by the end of November, it's not going to quite be snowing yet in Tokyo, but it's all going to be snow stuff. So they do this on purpose, of course, saying like, "Look what's coming! Here's what's coming!" Kind of giving a little twinkle to it. So it's fun to be a part of that because you really appreciate that you only have a short period of time where you can really see the leaves and enjoy the leaves and share the leaves, right? So
It goes back
it's so.
to what you were talking about sokon or mindfulness, right?
Oh yes, oh yes,
I
very.
love I love your decoration that you also posted on Twitter.
Thank you. Yeah, I didn't go anywhere particularly special for this. Loft over in Kichijoji has this wonderful paper store where I buy all these stationaries and things like that. And this paper store also features a series which changes once again every month of these little paper items. So it's made, of course, by hand, made in Japan. Not at that shop, of course, but that's what they sell. And every time I go there, they're just so cute and so little. They're less than $10 each, right? And you can get all these little items to decorate it with, and those little fallen leaves. You can buy those separately and all that stuff. Every month I'll go in there and I'll get something, or maybe I'll have something from last year. But I've been doing this for a few years now, so I have quite a collection. A little bit for every time the season changed. Changed a little tiny piece of washi, which is on a shelf somewhere, which most people they don't notice it, but those who do, they really enjoy it. So.
Well, because you love Japanese kimono and tea ceremony, I think you are more in tune with looking for detail in things like that. So you're a wonderful guide for the rest of us by noticing that. Thank you so much. Also, you are a fan of the towel kit.
Yes.
So
The towel kit.
this time of year, it's a bit too hot for big blankets. Give us an introduction of the towel kit.
Towel kit. I haven't seen this in any other country, but I really doubt it's very Japanese. But I'm gonna pretend it is and say, in Japan, um, towels are not just for drying oneself off or for laying on the beach. They have these really large version of it. So we're talking king size, queen size towels here. But these towels are used as a throw. So you can, or as a blanket or something like that. So you can use it very lightly and you can wash it easily and you can carry it on trips and bring it camping and all sorts of things. It's very rough use kind of a blanket that most everyone has. And you'll find one. I've never been to a house, which I haven't seen everyone's bedroom, of course, but I haven't been to a house yet which hasn't had a towel kit lying around somewhere. And so they offer them. This one over here, the Imabari towel, is made in Kyoto. It's a very nice, very fine weave. It's given as a gift often, and they make other things too with the same material, like scarves, things like that. So it's inexpensive luxury brand of high quality. And so I bought an Imabari towel in pink, but I didn't want a pink. What I want is a certain kind of purple. It's a very dark purple. And every time I try to look for this purple, it's always not that purple. It turns like fuchsia or something else. It's not that rich, dark purple that I really, really want. So one of my friends in Kyoto is a kimono maker and a kimono dyer. So I was talking to her and I said, I really want to get this towel in this particular color. Would you like to try to dye it? And she goes, I've never done it before. And towels are quite difficult to dye because of fibers and all sorts of things that she explained. But she says, but let's give it a whirl. So I sent her the Imabari towel, the big one that I got. And now she is testing various materials and colors to see if we can get as close as possible to the right one before she actually dives in just like and dyes it. So I'm really looking forward to working with her. This is something new for her too, of course. So maybe it'll link to people, kind of creating their bed space to their liking. I'm hoping it will be so.
I love that
It'll be a fun
idea.
project.
I love that idea because quite often, like you show in the picture on the tweet, it's just two colors, like very basic pastel colors. But the dye colors that you showed are such rich, deep colors that would suit your lifestyle a lot better. So if you have someone who knows how to dye things, that's wonderful.
You
Perfect.
can talk to almost any kimono shop, by the way. I mean, if you really want to get something dyed, like curtains or something that just you really want that shade that is just not available, kimono shops are professional dyers. That's what they do, or they know someone who does this. So you can get exactly what you want. You can be really picky about your house. So it's worth
Gorgeous.
it.
Well, speaking of kimono, I think it's time to start talking about kimono since that's your passion and everybody wants to see you in beautiful kimono. Let's start with this picture of you. It looks like like a celebration kimono and you're standing in a rock garden. Yeah.
Ah, okay. Now this one, it's not an everyday kimono. This what you're seeing on there is called an uchikake. It is, and the outfit that I'm wearing is the outfit of an oiran. An oiran, about 100 years ago and before that, was a lady of the night. So all the things that geisha are being accused of are actually oiran. And oiran are very similar. So in the way that they're also trained to be able to do certain things, but they were also, how do you say this? It's very complicated. Um, the oiran was also marketed as a very strong and elusive woman. So that was the concept of her. So she wasn't the lady on the street corner, if you know what I mean. She was something to be esteemed, and poems written about her, and music was written about her. Whoever's the oiran of the day or oiran of the town, and there's this beautiful song in Japanese. It was written. Oh goodness gracious! It was written by some feudal lord maybe 200, 300 years ago. It's called Matsu no Midori, and it's the green of the pines. And this Matsu no Midori was written as a letter to this lord's daughter to say, I want you to become like the name of the current oiran. I want you to become like that woman. I want you to be strong and independent. I want you to be admired by everyone around, and I want everyone to write songs about you so that your name will live off in eternity. And it is this beautiful dance, and it's a dance of the oiran. And what I'm wearing right now is I do Japanese dancing. So this particular photograph was taken in the costume which I used when I danced Matsu no Midori way back when. So this is maybe 3, 4 years ago. So this is a costume for dancing. So,
That's just gorgeous. So was that for a performance that you're all dressed up in a Zen rock garden? It's gorgeous.
this garden here actually links over to a tea house in the back. It's a large tea house, so it's used and rented out for events. But that particular one, it's on the water. It's very beautiful over there, and it I danced in there for we were just having there's a certain kind of party that you can have where everyone does something. So everyone, it's kind of like a talent show, but formalized talent show, you know. So food comes out, and all the guests can do something. So someone can play the shamisen, and someone can sing, and someone can dance, and you'll have all these things that are going on at these parties. And one of the things that I did, of course, was to dance Matsuno Midori's.
Wow, wonderful. Now, this is just a detail picture with the showing the back of the kimono near the neckline just
Oh,
has a bit of detail. Can you explain why kimonos are made
uh,
like that or?
okay. This particular kimono has what you call a mon, and a mon is a family crest. So during tea ceremonies and for any formalized kimonos, people are supposed to have a mon on there. Not every family in Japan has a mon, If you decide you want one, you can just go and get one. It's not a big deal about it. But my family has this very specific mon. It's called the kuyo, which kuyo is written the nine planets, 9 worlds, right? So it's the 9 world mon. So you have the sun in the middle and the 8 planets around it, kind of thing, or celestial bodies around it. So this one, of course, belongs to grandmother and great grandmother, great 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 grandmother, and our mon is especially old because when it was used, it was recorded. It was good. It was a good thousands something years ago, 1,100 something years ago, that we have the recording of it. So it's quite old. But yeah, you have to have it in the very back, right behind the nape of the neck, right at the bottom. And if you get more formalized, you get 3 of these. So you get them on the sode, on the arms, or you'll get 5 of them. So you get 2 on the back, 2 on the back part of the arms, and 2 on the front. So the more you have, the more formal it is.
Wow, beautiful. And the back of the neck is a very important part of the kimono, right?
It is. So I like to say that the lower the eri, the higher the skirt. So if you would have noticed on the oidan costume, which I was wearing with the big uchikake, the back of the eri is pulled way down. So you could see if I were to be wearing a bra at the moment, you could have been able to see the bra. That's how low it would go, and you do it on purpose. So you're showing just the right amount of skin, you know. So some ladies, if they want to have this kind of sexy kind of outfit, a lot of them will show cleavage, or they'll have really short skirts, or they'll show arms and bits and pieces and things that you get yelled at in school for, and all that sort of thing. But in Japan, it's the neck. The neck is considered the sexy part for a lady. So to lower the back of the so the looser you have your eri, the less formal it is. So right now, since I'm wearing a very informal kimono over here, it's not particularly low, but you can see it's very loose. So it's not like tied down or anything like that. So if you want to go out drinking in the evening, or you want to chill, or you want to just have fun, then loosen the eri and lower it in the back, because it just makes it a little bit more fun and easier to move around. And then when you're sitting down, you can kind of show off your neck. Not that you're showing off necessarily with your cleavage, but it's not that you're not, So it's another way to have fun with the kimono, play with the eri.
Beautiful. And you recently went to Kyoto and you showcased 4 different kimono that you were wearing in Kyoto.
Yeah. Since it is the hitoweb season, you only get to wear hitoweb for a short period of time. So there are only about maybe 3 to 4 months when you can really use it during the year. And each of the kimono patterns, it's kind of limited the season you're wearing it in. So like we were talking about the foliage, well, you can't wear autumn foliage in the spring, right? It just doesn't really match. So this particular day, I have 4 kimono. I would say 3 of them at least is really something you should only wear during the autumn. So you have this autumn red over here. That's very autumn. And then you have the one on the right sorry, it looks right. The one on the right hand side, the white one, similarly, it's kind of an autumn pattern, and you also have foliage on the obi. But these are all hitoweb. So I wear kimono every day, almost, except when I'm at work. But so as a result, it's fun to be able to wear something completely different. You can also notice there's one other photograph there. I don't know if there it is. So you have 2 kimono, which are different kimono, but use the same obi. So you mix and match the obi and everything. So you can wear it with something else and make it a different impression. So the one of the obi over here it's an informal tsumugi kind of pattern. And then over there on the left-hand side, we have the formal kimono. Now this one is a tsumugi, which is made for a tea ceremony. So this photo was taken at a tea ceremony in the waiting room. But yeah, it's a regular tsumugi with it not very patterned obi, and that's considered very classy. So it's tea ceremony level classy. So the less of the mess you have going on, or less of the fun pattern you have going on, the more formal it becomes.
Okay. Mary says, are they comfortable to wear?
Absolutely. I have to say this though. Uh, the first time a lot of young people wear kimono, it tends to be on what's called the seijinshiki. So when they turn 20 years old, they get all dressed into this really formal kimono, and they take pictures. The problem is that they're 20 years old, they've never worn a kimono before. Grandma is usually the one who's going to put on the kimono for the girl, and it's extremely formal. So they have all sorts of clips and towels and ties and crazy things which are trying to hold the kimono in place because grandma's not going to be following the girl around all day. And what she does is she goes out, she has fun, she goes drinking with her friends, and she's terrified that she's going to mess up her kimono. So she sits like this the entire day. She can't move. She can't drink anything. It feels like she's being squashed because she didn't put on the kimono by herself. And, and yet she thinks, because it's really pretty, of course, but she doesn't want anyone to touch it, just in case. Right? So this becomes the first impression a lot of people have of kimono. And if you do wear something like that, yeah, it's going to be painful. But kimono like this is a robe. So you're throwing this on over, underpants, right? So you're just running around, enjoying the looseness and freedom of not having to worry about all these kinds of things. And one of the things I like the most about the kimono is that the obi. Um, Many of us do have hourglass waists when we're 20, but not all of us do. So the nice thing is to be able to wear an obi. It kind of um, frees you from concern of who's looking at what part of what tire, which shouldn't be there at any given moment. So it allows you to move around and be more comfortable in your own skin because you're hinting at what's beneath. You're not showing what's beneath. You know what I mean? So I would definitely recommend it if you get used to this. It only takes 6 minutes to put on a kimono. I mean, it's something that you can use all day and everywhere as long as you're used to view it.
That's
Yes,
wonderful.
it's very comfortable.
Yeah. Once you learn how to wear it and how to put it on, that's a great hint because the times that I have worn it, I don't know anything about kimono, and so it was put on me and for formal occasions, like you say. And then once it starts to go wrong, I really felt like people putting on a girdle for me, like people were
Oh,
pulling and pulling and very strict, and then while I was out, it would go wrong because you have to use the toilet, and I didn't know how to put it back on properly. So people are really nice and take me aside and fix me, but that's kind of embarrassing as well. You want to know how to wear it so you can fix yourself. I think that'd be more comfortable, right?
well, it's all about practice. So the first time like a kid is the kid's 8 years old and they have to wear a suit for the first time. I mean, it's awkward and they can't move and they don't know what to do, and their lapel is bopped up and they don't know what to do with it, and because they're just not used to wearing it. But if you start to wear it every single day and you put it on yourself, that's the most important thing. The first couple times you have no choice. Someone has to put it on you because you're just not used to doing it, right? But little by little, if you use it every single day, you get really used to knowing how tight to tie a cord or not to tie a cord, or to tie it high or tie it low. And one of the things that helped me to learn kimono was actually when I started to wear this, because I had to go to dancing class, which is on the other side of town, but you can't change while you're there, so you have to do it at home, right? And I put it on and get on the train, and then some little grandma would inevitably pat me on the back and then fix something which had fallen out or it wasn't quite right. And it was through watching these cute little grandmas and other people who would help me to fix it, which taught me how to fix it. It's like, oh, I see what you're doing. You're tucking it underneath here. Oh, I see what you're doing. You're flattening it out over there. I didn't know I had to do that. And it becomes kind of a group effort for the first year. But then after the end of it, it's like, where'd you learn to do that? It's like, little grandma on the train, but you're
Yeah.
like,
So it's
it does.
definitely something that maybe the first few times feels awkward, but the more you wear it, the more comfortable you become in your
Oh, absolutely.
new style of wardrobe. I love that
It's
you
true. It's
you
true.
wear it most of the time. It's just so inspirational. Someday I
Well,
will get nice sets like you have. You often coordinate with shawls as well. So,
Oh, the shawl, the winter. Yeah. Oh,
and
you,
layers, all about layers to stay warm and comfortable, right?
yeah. The one thing that's a lot of fun about Japanese art in general is that you can mix and match patterns. So in America, it used to be a faux pas to wear, was it plaid with stripes and things like that? It just doesn't work for some reason. It's just too busy. But Japan, the patterns that they use, they match each other for some reason. And so in order to, you can use three different patterns next to each other and it looks classy. It works out very well, especially if you can coordinate the colors in the way that you like. So if it's just, kimonos tend to be really warm. So right now in weather like this, you only need a single layer, of course. Like you probably would do the same thing with regular Western wear as well too. But yeah, you don't have to bring a coat with you. You can just wear a shawl. So around this time is this month up until the end of October, I tend to use shawls more than I do coats. They do exist, but I prefer the shawls to easier. So
And then you also have
yeah.
some accessories that you hang on the obi or have different belts, right? Different accessories. There's lots of things. How do you get all of your stuff? You just collect it at different shops or do you shop online? Do you make it?
It's every single piece. This is also part of fun about kimono, but every single piece has a story. So what you're seeing over there with the little charm on the side of the red obi, that's actually the phone strap. That's my phone strap. And so you tuck your phone. Here's a phone. You tuck your phone into the side of your obi, in behind it, and you can't even tell it's there except for the strap, right? Or as you go along, you're going to notice that they have all these options. So in the front, there's like a tie. You can see it. For example, the red kimono over there with the white and obi in the back on the left-hand side. That one, actually, there's a pin right in the middle of that. And that pin, I made this one because it was a Olympics. It was one of those Olympic badges that everyone gets, and so I filed off the pin at the bottom and I attached a hook so that I could use it as an obi dome. It's called an obi dome. It's a little piece of jewelry that goes on the obi. So yeah, I do that a lot. So if I have a pin or something, because I don't wear shawls as much as some people might. So if I'm given a beautiful pin or something, I'll file off the back and then reattach and something that I can use it on an obi. So there'll be things like that. So each and every piece comes from somewhere else. I might buy it, but I'm usually given it, or I'll make it, or it's used for something very specific, and you'll just amass a collection over the years. So
That's wonderful. And then you can find tabi and slippers in your size as well?
well, I'm fortunate enough so that my feet aren't that big. I don't know. So you can buy the pret-a-porter ones. Shoes are always supposed to be a size too small. This is a thing for kimono because it's not required to have something that covers the entire base of your foot. It has to be comfortable enough for you to walk long distances without flopping, right? So slightly small is ideal. They do have shoes. They do have shoes in my size. I don't know what that. I forgot what is in American. I think I'm a 7 or 8 in American. I can't. I don't know. Don't hold me to that, but something like that. In Japan I'm a 25.5. So I'm right on the cusp. So if you look hard, you can find it. And there is the thing is that men wear tabi too, and so you can wear men's tabi, which is another thing that just doesn't look any different. One thing which has not been posted on my Twitter, which I'll have to explain later, is if you make a kimono, you also have fabric that's left over. And the leftover fabric, you can turn it into the kimono shop and have something made from it. So one of the things that I make is I make tabi. So if there's a material that I really like and it's a little bit left over, or it's old, it's been hanging around from grandma's kimono or something, I'll bring it into the kimono shop and have tabi made in 25.5 or 26, which is just more comfortable for me. So there's nothing that you don't have to throw away anything. It can be used again. And patterns for kimono are just as good for patterns for tabi if you want it. So
Beautiful. and just stunning. So the normal obi doesn't always have the decorative bow in the back.
Oh,
Just
there's
you've
so
got
many
you've
ways.
got different kinds, right?
Oh yes. The one that you see most commonly is the kind of a box shape. It's called taiko obi. It's a drum obi. It's called. That's most common. The reason for that is you use the taiko obi in formal situations. So a tea ceremony you're always going to use in taiko. But today, for example, I'm wearing a boa today. So this is a cho musubi. I have a cat on me, so hold on. Cat, cat. So this is a cho musubi, for example, over
Oh,
here.
cute. Yeah.
So it's very informal. I'm wearing a han haba obi, which means the big one over here. That's for if you're going out or something to really hold it down. But the han haba is just fine for informal wear, and it's the same one you wear with the yukata. So just get a nice one that can go with everything. And this particular han haba that I'm wearing now, this belonged to grandmother. So this is about 80-year-old obi, so it's really quite old. But the old ones are made to last. So it's not you can just kind of wear it very casually in that
Mm-hmm.
sense. So the thing is that you can tie your obi however you want to, and there's so many ways to do it. So if you want to look a little bit classier, you can put a ginza musubi on it, or if you want to wear something kind of a little boyish, there's the kainokuchi, which is the standard V shape for men. Women can wear that too. So there are all these different ways to tie your obi. So it's all depending on what you feel like that particular day and what kind of impression you want to make. So
That's
it's very,
wonderful.
very individualized. Yeah.
Beautiful. So if you're interested in seeing more seasonal OB and tips and tricks and decor and accessories, make sure you follow Paprika Girl on Twitter. I think that's where you're most active and most of your beautiful photos. Um, let's talk a little bit more about wagashi. I love this wagashi you introduced, Hanai Kada, maybe
Wait, let me.
at the end of last season. So
Oh, yes.
the wagashi that looks like this type of flower that's only out at a certain time of year, maybe end of summer.
Yeah, this is the hanaikara is. It's a really cute little flower that's very not it's not as flashy as your average flower, right? So the average flower is, it's bright pink and it's pretty with petals and everything. But this one, it's it's the one that you kind of don't notice until you look at it and you're like, wait a minute, that's really weird. So you go into the park and you'll see this like, on bushes and things like this. And what's lovely about wagashi is that of course everyone likes the big fluffy pink ones and big pink flower all the time. So wagashi the specialists, they try to recreate the smallest little details of a season. So they found this flower, which is not half as flashy as the other one. And those who know what it is will know what it is. And those who don't, they learn something new. So it's tea ceremonies, the wagashi in general is very delicate and very beautiful. So I love this one too. And it's very delicious too, by the way. So
Yeah, gorgeous. And so what was inside? Was it anko azuki bean?
it just
Yeah.
it was I think this was koshian on the inside. So koshian and tsubuan are the two most popular versions. It's the same thing, but koshian is very smooth, and tsubuan still it's like chunky peanut butter versus smooth peanut butter. They're both good. They're just different textures. So this one had smooth koshian inside of it. So it's quite yummy.
Yeah, wonderful. So I love that you're always introducing new sweets, traditional Japanese sweets, as well as a little bit about Japanese manners and traditions in that way, in terms of culture as well. So you introduced about zabuton, that zabuton, you should sit on the tatami next to
Yeah.
zabuton before being invited to sit down. I hadn't heard this before.
It's one of those things that grandma says, don't cross your legs, or what are other things that grandma, don't put your elbows on the table. This is one of those things that you don't teach to people. You have to hear it from grandma. So you're never going to see in a guidebook that it's written that don't put your arms on the table, right? This is something that, if you're either taught it or you're not. And zabuton, I didn't know this when I first got here, of course. I just thought it's a seat, so sit down. But you're going to notice, not necessarily zabuton, but you're going to notice if you go to a large room with lots of chairs, and there's a lot of people coming to sit down on those chairs. They don't sit down. For some reason, they just kind of stand everywhere. And you're like, sit down. And some they'll choose a seat, maybe they'll put their stuff on the seat, but they won't sit down. And I didn't really understand this for the longest time. But it comes from the zabuton thing. So once you come into the room, you have to be invited by the host to sit down. So everyone who's meandering around when they should be sitting down in one of the chairs is actually waiting for the guest or the host to say something. Please take a seat, and then they'll sit down. And they have all these issues and manners regarding who's more important and who sits where, but let's just forget about that. The zabuton situation is one of those things that if you want to sit down, but there's a zabuton there and no one said anything about it, sit next to it on purpose because it will make you look exceptionally cultured. So.
Wow, that is really interesting. I never thought about that. I've noticed that with people standing around the table, and so you always say, "Oh no, please sit down." But yeah, if you don't know, that comes from the zabuton culture as well. I didn't know that about zabuton pillows, that it's kind of like a flat pillow that goes under a low table on tatami. So that's very good to know. So cultural tricks as well as manners, deep traditions. Thank you so much. You've introduced so many things today. And of course, beautiful kimono and your wonderful book on Amazon. So congratulations on that again. Mary says, I could watch and learn about this all day long. Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
And Mary, you asked where we're living. So I'm based in Hiroshima in Japan. And Paprika Girl, where are you? In Tokyo, right?
I'm Kichijoji in Tokyo.
Yeah, right.
Been here for like nearly 18 years.
Yeah. So it's a wonderful place to continue your passion for kimono. Even in the big city, it's convenient to embrace kimono culture and kimono wearing, is it? No problem in the big city?
So Kyoto, of course, because Kyoto has lots of those Iamoto, but Tokyo, because Tokyo, they tend to have more kimono being worn in Tokyo than in the inaka, or in the on the Chiho, the outside of Tokyo. And I think it's because people are a little bit more, they have a little bit more kokoro no yoyu, they have a little bit more space to choose what they'd rather be doing or rather be wearing, this individuality in a sense. So I think that if you're in a city, you're going to find a lot more people wearing kimono than you would other places. So if you have a chance, please do.
Wonderful. And so once again, please follow Paprika Girl, JP, on Twitter. I will put the links below for the places that we talked about. And thank you so much for joining. Thank you for your comments and questions. Join us again tomorrow, 5 o'clock. We're talking with Chris Pellegrini about awamori, the famous alcohol of Okinawa, as well as a bit of shochu. So join us at 5 tomorrow and 5 on Friday. We're talking Japanese news with Hiko Simon on Friday. So we have a great short week this week. Thank you all so much. Have a great day. Thank you so much, Riki.
Thank you very much. どうもお疲れ様。
お疲れ様です。